All right. Good afternoon and welcome to our Office of Educator Effectiveness and Leadership Development February 2021 virtual office hours. We're so glad that you could be here, and we want to thank you for all that you're doing to support educators and students during the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Rodney Evans, Education Associate here in the office, and I'm joined today by our Effectiveness Director, Lila Toll Monzager, and team members Beverly Flythe, Faye Colley, Dr. Julie Hartwell, and Dr. Vicki Troffler. Just a gentle reminder to eliminate any background noise during this webinar, to please turn your microphone on mute if you have yet to do so. Throughout the webinar, you are welcome to use the chat feature to share your reactions and to pose questions to your colleagues in the virtual room. Lila and Vicki will be on chat today and will be monitoring your questions and will also be responding accordingly. Again, if you have yet to do so for attendance purposes, so we'll know who all was here today, please put your name and district in the chat box and please share your responses to our two opening questions. Next slide. All right, so the information that we will share today is outlined here on the agenda. And we will begin with our 2021-22 Professional Learning Survey, our SCLE.org enhancement, special areas evaluation update, ADEPT implementation reminders, FAQs, and then lastly, our group discussion and questions. At this time, Faye Colley will now talk to you about our 2021-22 Professional Learning Survey.
Thank you, Rodney, for welcoming everyone and going over our agenda. Thank you for your responses. It's nice hearing your feedback. At this point, I want to bring your attention to our request that we put in our January newsletter. We request that you complete the Educator Effectiveness ADEPT Revisions and District Professional Learning Needs 2021-22 survey. So we really need your feedback. So as you know, our office supports educator growth through PADEPT, ADEPT, and providing district assistance. During the time of the pandemic, our office offered flexibility for teacher evaluations, including the simplified SLO form. So if you haven't had the opportunity, please take 5 to 10 minutes to complete our survey. This is so we can gather your feedback on the ADEPT process and ways we can best support your district in 2021-22. The feedback is anonymous unless you choose to provide your name. Please feel free to forward the survey to any relevant colleagues. We will drop the link in the chat shortly. And lastly, kindly complete our survey on or before February 12th, 2021 as your early Valentine's Day present to us. So far, we have received 18 responses, and we want to thank you for taking the time to do that. Now, I'm turning the mic over to Dr. Hartwell for some SLE.org enhancements.
Thank you so much, Faye. Welcome, everybody. We're going to stay on this slide for just a minute. Because first, we all wanted to thank y'all for your thoughtful feedback regarding SCLE.org as we go through the school year, as Rodney said. Some of you may have noticed error messages in SCLE resulting from the current flexibility. We want to let you know that those have been addressed. The ones that you've shared with us have been addressed. For example, if your district is using the flexibility, I think we need everybody to mute. Thanks, everybody. For example, if your district is using the flexibility to utilize a walkthrough in the preliminary cycle for Induction 1 educators instead of an observation, you may have gotten an error message that there were not enough observations because prior to the flexibility, the system was expecting 2 observations. So the system has been updated to recognize this part of the flexibility. Some of you may have also experienced a bug where adept contacts at the district level could not see signatures within an observation that had been there before. So that caused a little panic for a moment, but we want you to know that has also been fixed. Finally, for some consensus districts, your colleagues alerted us that the teacher could sign the consensus meeting form before all the team members had signed that consensus meeting form. So we got busy and that bug has also been fixed. Dr. Elkins, she may be on the call today in Dillon 4. You know, we owe her a debt of gratitude because when we were in the pilot phase for SC Lead, she helped us test and address a lot of the bugs in the system before they ever saw the light of day statewide. So thank you, Dr. Elkins, and your colleagues are following in your footsteps and helping us find the kinks and the bugs in the system. So as you find them, everybody, please let your adept contact here in the Office of Educator Effectiveness know. Keep your eyes peeled and let us know if anything looks wacky in sclead.org. As always, you know, we take y'all's feedback very seriously. So let's move to the next slide and switch gears and look at 2 recent enhancements to SC Lead that we want you to know about. So here you see a sample results page. Through the year, we've gotten feedback that educators had questions regarding the values displayed for the domain scores and the overall composite score and why they changed. You'll see they're highlighted here with blue arrows. So first, remember that the scores on the results page change as observations are entered depending on your scoring model. If you're following the average scoring approach, it changes once the record is signed. If consensus, once the consensus meeting form is signed. So for most of the year, when an educator clicks on the results page, they only see part of the story. They only see scores and weights on the results page for the 3 domains that have been scored during the observation. So we've gotten feedback that teachers often look at these scores and the overall status as if they are the final rating, but we know that they're not. Scores on the results prior to the entry of that professionalism rating in the final cycle are in progress and represent performance up to date. They don't inform the overall rating until that professionalism score is entered and calculated by the system in the final cycle. So to drive this point home, when visiting the results page, we've upgraded the system to display the percents to only include what's listed. And you'll see this highlighted here by the red arrow. So don't be alarmed when you see this upgrade on the results page. These weights, and you'll notice that they are different than what's in the guidelines, are only indicating what's included in the score as it's currently displayed, but it's clear to see what's missing. And we hope this drives home the point that the scores are in progress. But we see what's missing. The professionalism domain score is missing. The 10% for the professionalism domain has yet to be entered and calculated. But guess what's going to happen once the professionalism rating is included? Those domain weights will revert to what's in the guidelines. The planning percent will go from 22% to 20% as normal. The instruction domain will go from 56% to 50%, and the environment domain weight will go from 22% to 20%. So we hope that seeing the weights and only the 3 domains will drive home the point that there is an additional domain to be added. So we wanted to let you know first, so don't be alarmed by this. This is by design. On the next slide, you'll see the intro to another enhancement. So here you'll see in the yearly evaluation results and indicators detail report, an additional upgrade. So here's how the report currently looks. And I'm sure that many of you have pulled this report and looked at your data to inform professional development or to identify teachers needing support. But remember, this is the report that lists all of the indicator scores and the domain averages as you see here on this screenshot. On the next slide, and I've hidden some columns here, but you'll notice here, this is a screenshot of the end of the spreadsheet for the indicators and detail report. I'm all the way at the end of the report. I'm all the way at columns AS, AT, AU, etc. But you'll notice when you pull this report, there are going to be some new data columns that I've color-coded here only for the purpose of this demo. Now you can see on this indicators detail report, in report format, the weight, the weighted score, and domain rating to date in one report. Before, to see this data, you had to pull each educator's record and look at the educator's results page separately, or you had to wait for the composite rating to show up on the evaluation status report at the end of the year. But now you have everything on the results page here in one report. So take notice that the professionalism domain columns in orange are empty, but that makes sense because the final cycle assessment of professionalism hasn't been entered yet. We've also added the composite rating, and you'll see that highlighted in yellow. We really feel like this is an upgrade for this particular indicators detail report because before it was just a bunch of scores, but now you've got more context by seeing the system's calculation and the composite rating in one place. Before you had the scores in one place and you had to pull the evaluation status report to see the composite ratings. But now this report provides you with a very comprehensive look at how the scores line up with the ratings. Remember, just like on the results page, once those professionalism column scores are, once the professionalism scores are entered and those columns are populated, the weights will restore to 20% for planning and environment, instruction will show at 50%, and the weight for the professionalism domain will display here as well as on the results page. So as you live with these upgrades, let us know your feedback. Let us know if they're working for you or if they're not. And we will, of course, be as responsive as possible to all of your suggestions. So please keep us in the loop in terms of if these upgrades are working for you. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Beverly, who is going to talk about some special areas updates. Beverly?
Hi, everybody, on this cold Wednesday. Looking at special areas, in order to be granted manager rights in Moodle, special areas managers must attend the special areas Train the Trainer. As a reminder, there is one more special areas training coming up, and there is one special areas manager per district who has the rights to assign evaluators to training in Moodle and then submit those names of evaluators who have completed training to Dr. Kim Howard. The SAM will not be responsible for entering all of the evaluations into sclead.org. Each evaluator training takes between 2 to 4 hours to complete. We've streamlined the training process as much as possible, but strongly recommend that SAMs begin assigning evaluators to training soon in order to best prepare for the 21-22 school year. Our office is continuously collecting feedback and data from our pilot districts in order to fine-tune the guidelines, rubrics, and cut scores in time to take everything to the state board in June. We've decided to stretch that out so that we get a complete picture of the entire year in order to make those decisions going forward. So be on the lookout for more information as it develops. I'm going to drop the link for the May 7th Train the Trainer for SAMs in the chat box so that you can register for May 7th if you are the SAM and you haven't registered yet, or if you need to pass that information along to your district SAM. As always, if you have any questions about Moodle or special areas training, please reach out to me at beeflife@ed.sc.gov.
All right, thank you so much, Beverly. We'll now have ADEPT implementation reminders. And we'll start with the preliminary cycle. You go to the next slide, please. All right, so when it comes to the preliminary cycle and the pre-conferences, observations, and post-conference, you want to make sure that all of them have occurred for all evaluated educators. The number of observations, of course, is based on the educator's contract level. You want to make sure that you read any blue sclead.org information messages, as they will inform you of any missing data or signatures from the evaluation. Also, you want to ensure that you have all scores for all the observations and that they are entered in sclead.org And both the evaluator and educator have signed for each on each observation form. Here is the final cycle ADEPT reminders. And of course, the final cycle is somewhat different than the preliminary cycle because now you have to ensure that you find those professionalism scores, that those professionalism scores are entered for the educators. And of course, even if that professionalism score is entered for the preliminary cycle, the only one that will count is the most recent one, which is probably going to be input during the final cycle. Also, you need to ensure that all are occurring again for the observations again, and you want to ensure that that number is going to be based on the contract level. So you want to make sure that all your observations are occurring. And again, read those informational messages from SLE.org. Ensure that your scores are entered for the final cycle and that the evaluators and educators have signed your observation forms. You want to plan for your district SCTS evaluator and mentor trainings for next year and any SLE.org functionality. Virtual training is still an option for districts for next year. We do have materials in our Sarah Hub, as well as resources from our state level trainings that are available for you to use to develop your trainings on next year. Also, double check your contract levels by pulling your staff evaluation observations report, ADEPT report, and look at columns R and S. To check those contract levels. And then evaluation data must be entered into SLE.org, and it doesn't matter if you're import district or if you use SLE solely to manage your evaluations. Please all right, and SLOs. You want to ensure that your SLO conferences take place before your ADEPT plan deadlines, as you've already indicated. Students is not constant, and also SLO 30th, 2021 for contract decision purposes. All right, that's it for ADEPT reminders, implementation reminders, and now Lila will come and go over some FAQs and additional resources.
Hi, y'all. So glad to be here and appreciate that question about SC Educator. I was just sending a text over to our friends in Educator Services. So if I hear anything back, we'll let you know. And otherwise, definitely expect to hear that from them. I know they just sent out a whole lot of information last Friday on certification for the spring. So I know it's something that's on their mind. We're excited to wrap up before we get to your questions, which is my favorite part of office hours, with just a few additional resources. But before I do that, I just want to give a huge shout out to all of the effectiveness regional leads who work so closely with you. They listen to your questions, they compile them, and they put together the content for this office hours, and their work is just deeply, deeply appreciated. That's what we're here for, but I think they do an awesome job. If you were at SCASA's HR roundtable last week, these slides are going to sound familiar, but we did want to make sure to share them with you so you have all the information you need. So Faye, if you don't mind heading to the next slide. Faye mentioned at the top of office hours that we are seeking your feedback through this survey. The survey will help us plan trainings for starting the spring, summer, fall, and winter. We usually come out with that new training schedule at the end of March, right at the beginning of April. But this year, we're also going to ask you for a little additional feedback on ADEPT. And the reason for that is that Molly has really asked everyone in the department to take a step back after this extraordinary year and think about what have we done this year that worked well for districts, that moved roadblocks out of their way, that we should continue to do. And so we take that very, very seriously. And we want to make sure that we are getting your voices in there. In particular, with teacher evaluations this year, we went to the simplified SLO, as well as gave the option for you to use a focused walkthrough with a pre-conference and a post-conference for your induction teachers this year. If you want to see those go forward, or you really don't want to see those go forward, we would love to know. And if you would rather give me feedback on the phone than do a survey, I'm fine with that. I will put my phone number in the chat after I'm done talking. If you want to check in, if you want me to call and check in with your induction and mentoring coordinator or a specific mentor and get their feedback, I'm happy to gather it by any means necessary. Feel free to forward this on to anyone in your district that you think might have useful feedback for us. The next point we want to share with you is around the environment domain in the South Carolina Teaching Standards rubric. This past August, NIET let us know and put us into a focus group with a few different states that use their rubric for teacher evaluations, that they had made changes to the environment domain based on research, really to emphasize engagement and a safe and positive learning environment and equitable access to learning. We think the changes are really great. They're pretty minor in scope, but we did not want to push you, knowing how this summer and this fall was, push you to use that new rubric this year. That felt crazy. But we do think it's a great idea to update SC Lead and update the rubric for next fall. It will not involve any additional required training for evaluators, but we will definitely put out this spring when we take these changes to the board. We will put out some guidance for you and some additional resources for you. So you can have them there. I put an example of some of the changes there with the expectations indicator. You can see the red is just the new language. So it's really taking that academic expectations indicator and making it more clear that we really need to give access to all students, and we need to make sure we're engaging them with clear and rigorous expectations. More to come on that later in the spring. We are still trying to figure out, I've had some great questions from EPPs. How soon do our university programs need to put the new rubric into place? And so we'll be working with them to set a timeline there. The last thing we wanted to let you know as far as these resources is we're really excited to partner with NIET to offer some additional modules for virtual instruction to allow evaluators to calibrate on what strong virtual instruction looks like and sounds like, including a protocol that they could use with their instructional leadership team and a facilitator's guide in case you wanted to lead this training for principals. It'll also be available asynchronously, so they can just, log on and do it at their own pace. The best thing about those modules is they are going to have some full-length videos that you can watch and score and use to calibrate as well. So we're excited about those and working hard with NIET to get those ready. So Faye, if you could head to the next slide, and I'll cover Aaron Young's question on the next slide. So hold on just a moment. The next thing we wanted to share is that we are really, really excited to make sure we can recognize teachers for their creativity and innovation this year. This year has been extraordinary, and we really wanted to think creatively about how we could recognize that with renewal credit. So if you go to http://SCDE renewal, you'll see a guidance document that I'll talk you through at a very high level here. So Faye, if you don't mind doing one more click. You can already use options 6 and 10 in the certificate renewal matrix to give credit for meaningful job-embedded professional learning. But the how is really important. So Faye, if you could give one more additional click, that job-embedded learning that may happen during the day, may happen during their contracted time, may happen during your district PD days. In order to be worthy for renewal, it really should support either student achievement, school goals, or the educator's professional growth and development plan, which could be their formal goals like their SLO, or for principals, their principal's professional development plan. But it could also be an individualized leadership goal or an individualized growth goal. And so you can think a lot of the professional learning you've done with teachers this year around curriculum redesign, around new assessments, around virtual teaching would probably fall into this category. If you follow the link that's here, we've got a couple different examples specifically around micro-credentials and how you might use ongoing sustained PLCs to grant educators renewal credit. I will also be excited to drop in the library of micro-credentials that we're currently using for our Micro-Credential Academy. It's got some micro-credentials that we have vetted for virtual instruction that we think are a great fit, particularly if you had teachers do those NIET modules in the fall and they're looking for a little additional renewal credit because they've implemented that learning. Some of those virtual instruction micro-credentials could be a really, really good fit, especially if you have some folks that are trying to keep up with renewal, but a lot of those traditional conferences and options that they might have in a traditional year aren't exactly available to them. And if we head to the next slide, we will do some clarification around SCTS 4.0 renewal. So this is a slide from last month. We just want to reshare our reminders that the exam is available at scadeptsupport.org. Folks who were trained in 2018 and earlier will start coming due in the month that they were trained in 2021. If you have anyone whose due date has already come up and they're on an evaluation team and they just haven't made it into the portal to take that exam again, they will be okay to stay on their evaluation team for the rest of this school year and just really need to go in and take that exam before they're assigned to an evaluation team for the following school year. It is the same format as the certification exam they took the first time around. We have had folks ask, do we have to retrain people before they take the exam? No training is necessary. They just need to go in, watch the video, score it, be at least within 1 point on the indicators, and then they need to take the multiple choice part, which is multiple choice, but it is open book. So if they want to go back to the portal and download that handbook, that's where some folks who have been going a little bit too fast have gotten tripped up there. If you have anyone who doesn't pass the exam and they need to retrain, there are refresher training documents available for you in that trainer's document library on scadeptsupport.org. The other question we've gotten a lot is what happens, there are people on my roster who are no longer in my district, or I've got new evaluators who are trained in a different district. You can email support@niet.org to update educators who are no longer in your district. They sometimes need, if you're looking to put someone into new district administration rights, you should go ahead and copy us on that so we can confirm that. But otherwise, you should be able to clean up your roster by just getting in touch with NIET. That is all the frequently asked questions we knew that you might have. If I can turn it back over to Rodney, we'll start fielding some more of your questions.
All right, thank you so much, Lila. If anyone has any questions at this time, feel free to hop on the mic or type your questions in the chat box. We'd love to hear from you.
So I'm seeing one that I haven't typed in yet coming from Abby, making sure that the environment domain is the only one revised at this point, no changes anticipated for instruction or assessment. That's absolutely correct. It's just the environment domain, and even the indicators are the same. I think only one has a slightly different name. Managing student behavior is now engaging and managing student behavior. Rodney, it looks like there's another one from Sherry about mid-course SLO conferences and the progress monitoring that should go on there. So do you mind talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, Sherry, I have to check that out. But if there is no edit button, I'm trying to see if you can just upload an attachment for that. I'll have to try that out, that feature out for you and see what's going on with the edit button. I haven't tried that out yet. So let me work on that, and I'll try to get back with you during office hours. If not, I'll respond back to you through email. Anyone else have any other questions? Feel free to come on the chat. Come on the mic or type them in the chat box. I believe Trish has a question about to qualify to become a special area evaluator, does an educator have to have completed at least 1 year at the continuing contract level, like the requirement for 4.0 evaluator?
Trish, that's a guidelines question. So hold on just a moment and let me go read my guidelines, because I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'll look right now.
Rodney, I am not sure if you saw the question from Adrian about, I know Lila touched on it, about next year, if an evaluator's credential is expired, will SC Lead prevent them from being assigned as an evaluator? As well.
Okay, I think Lila addressed that for this current year, if it expires during the year, the evaluator will still be able to serve on the team. So
Right,
it'll let everybody finish out the year.
but we'll need to be certified before next school year.
That's right. Thanks, Rodney. Thanks, Faye.
They won't show up in the list.
We have Danny Odo's hand raised up for a little bit. Not sure if that was on accident.
No, that's me. Good afternoon, y'all. Just a follow-up question on that. I do understand about how those dates work with those recertification for the 4.0. Just checking if I'm understanding correctly, for next year, next school year, that still be the same type of practice. For example, if someone credentials expire in February of 2022, that's like a long time from now. For example, they will be able to finish out the school year and then exam or be examining during that time.
Yes, Danny, to my understanding, that's true. This was not something that was tied necessarily to the flexibility. It was not tied to the flexibility. So if we are wrong about that, we'll let you know at the next office hours, but we believe that's the practice that we put in place, I think even prior to COVID, just to make sure that people weren't being kicked out of teams in the middle of the semester.
Correct. I assumed that was going to be the case, but I didn't want to make an assumption and have a problem later.
Yes, yes.
So I got to do some work this summer to get people there.
That's right. But now starting in August, I think, if they haven't been recertified by that point, it won't not let the principals or the district assign them to teams.
Copy. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Trish, I just put something super long in the chat, so it's there for you to be able to reference, but I'll also come on. So yes, it is in the 4.0 guidelines that they have to have at least 1 year at continuing, but that is not in the special area guidelines, in part because we know that sometimes it's harder to find someone. We do think, especially for mentoring those new counselors, those new librarians, even if you have to bring someone back from retirement as that peer or contract with a neighboring district to have someone that really is experienced as a counselor, as a librarian, as a speech language pathologist, do those peer observations, it's really, really helpful. And in fact, the SLP instrument is structured so that peer is doing something slightly different than the administrative evaluator. So that's always the best case. But if you do need to get a few folks who are kind of up and comers and maybe had a longer ramp, who haven't gone successfully completed continuing, but have arrived at continuing, you would be able to do that in the guidelines. We've got another one coming up in the chat that I'll toss to the team. How many hours of research credit can we give for special areas evaluator trainings? Thank you, Vicki. So that's 4 hours per training.
Hi, and now, okay. All right. Sherry, I wanted to answer your question too. I just clicked on the edit tab for the mid-course conference, and it allows me to be able to go in and type in reflections. I'll impersonate you and see if I have any issues that way, but right now I see that I'm able to place data in those response boxes.
Rodney,
Yes.
it's Sherry. Maybe after the meeting, there's a couple of teachers in one of the schools that reached out, and I tried it myself too. So it could be just something.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you. Could you
Sorry, that's
please
my
repeat
Siri. That could be just something that is not set up right on their end. So I'll try to reach out to you after.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, it's 2:36. We still have time to take your questions.
Rodney, I think there was a question Adrian posted below Trisha's question earlier about who are teacher groups, if any, who vetted the environment rubric.
So I have not put the environment rubric out to any of our local teacher groups yet. Adrian, I do not know what NIET's process was this summer. Honestly, our process with them this summer was to give them some feedback as a state and say, we need to hold on this. So we're in the process of working on it. If your teacher group wants to give it a look at it before we take it to the board, and that's something you're willing to help us engage them in, we'd love to do that. Usually our go-to is just to reach out to PSTA and SCEA before we make any changes. But if you have teachers that would be interested or you would like to be pulled into a focus group, we'd love to talk with them about that. We also definitely are considering, we've looked at some of the feedback from your survey so far, and one of the comments that we've seen, which is something we've noticed in the data too, is wanting to do a deeper look if 2.26 is the right cut score for teacher evaluation. So that's definitely something we're interested looking into. And so if that's something that's come up for you in your district and you would like to be an advisor to us on that issue, we would love to know, and we'll definitely reach out to you to get you to help us a little bit with our research on that.
Lola, we have Adrian's hand up.
We have a very active teacher roundtable, and they are very vocal about any change in evaluation. So I would appreciate the ability to share some things with them and get their feedback. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'm happy to come down and be a fly on the wall or not, however you want to do that. But we would love to get their feedback.
Thank you.
All right. Again, please type your questions in the chat box or come on the mic. Melissa's asking if you're a trainer of evaluators, do you have to recertify?
It's certainly not required, but if you're expecting your evaluators to re-up every 3 years, it might be a good way to model for them what you are preaching as well.
And with someone on the special area team, design team would like to answer Aaron's question, said, is the special area certification good for 3 years as well? Vicki, do you or Beverly have that answer? Certification for special areas, how long it lasts?
Beverly and Vicky can correct me if I'm wrong, Rodney, but I think they last forever, until
Okay.
just like our old special areas ones, until we change the model again. So the last model went from 2006 to 2021.
Right.
So it may be a good 16 years.
All right.
That is correct. That was the decision we had made.
Thank you. All right. We can hang on a little while longer for those of you who continue to have questions. I know we had some questions around special areas we were going to address here at the end of our session today. So at this time, if there aren't any questions outside of special areas that need to be addressed, then you're free to log off or sign off at this time. Those of you who still need support, further support, please hang around, and we'll be here until at least 3 o'clock and possibly a little longer if need be. And Faith,
Y'all
you
have
can
a great rest of the
Yeah.
week. It's always so wonderful to see you briefly.
Awesome. Faith, you can just put up our contact information just in case someone needs it. Thank you.